Welcome back to the eLearning Simplified YouTube channel. Today we are digging into what does an eLearning consultant do? I'm Johnny Havey, one of the co-founders of eLearning Partners, and we created this channel, eLearning Simplified, to help you simplify your learning. Why are we helping you simplify your learning? Because we are passionate about your learners. This is a learner-centric eLearning channel. If you believe in learners and creating programs for your learners as much as we do, give us a subscribe and a thumbs up to this video. Now, we also talk about on this channel how to build, sell, and market your online courses. And if you are building internal training for your organization or for yourself, we also help you with best practices around creating that training for your employees and your contractors. Like I said, today we're tackling this question. What does an e-learning consultant do? Well, after we get through this question, we are actually going to have a freebie for you at the end of this video as well to take your e-learning even further. So stick around to the end. So an e-learning consultant. This question, I don't even like it. I'll be honest with you. What does an e-learning consultant do? I don't like it because I think there's a ton of people out there that aren't doing what an e-learning consultant should do. What an e-learning consultant should do is what the question should be. What does an e-learning consultant do? What should an e-learning consultant do? Let's get rid of the does. What should an e-learning consultant do? Well, an e-learning consultant should build an e-learning strategy. Pretty simple. All e-learning consultants do that. What the problem is this is it. It stops here when you're talking to most e-learning consultants. So what they should do is build the strategy. They should also manage your program. They should be accountable. Accountability is everything. So an e-learning consultant needs to build that strategy, and then they need to be managers that are accountable for the goals of the project. Lastly, an e-learning consultant needs to help you with implementation. And we understand there's a lot of consultants out there, and not all of them have the resources to do implementation. That's fine. Just make sure that you're letting your clients know that. And if you're looking to hire an e-learning consultant, make sure you ask them, so you're going to help me build an e-learning strategy. Great. Check. You're going to manage my e-learning program? Okay. But are you going to be accountable for the goals of the program? Important to ask. This isn't always there. And then implementation is usually the piece that is missing. Are you going to build the strategy but actually help me build out the A to Z program? Most likely they're going to say no. That's why this is so important, because when you are spending X amount a month, like if you're spending $3,500 a month retainer for a consultant, I would hope that they're going to help you implement the strategy. And yeah, some of you might be out there, you're a large organization, and you're watching this, you're like, oh, $3,500, that's not a lot. Well, this is probably for like one consultant. You have one person that you're talking to. If you were hiring out a consultant team, you're a large organization, you're probably looking at something exponentially larger than this. No matter what, you want a e-learning consultant to at least be open that they're not going to help you with implementation. So let's dig deeper into what these three things are. So strategy, e-learning strategy is coming up with what you're going to do for the three pillars of e-learning. There's three pillars of e-learning. There's content, there's technology, and there's distribution. We have a lot of content on this channel that digs deep into what these are, but we call this CTD. So when you're looking at building an e-learning strategy, it needs to cover these three things: content, tech, and distribution. And it needs to cover these three things from the lens of a learner. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about strategy. Strategy has to deal with how are you going to build content that the learner wants, how are you going to use technology that the learner wants, and how are you going to distribute the course so that the learner gets what they need out of it. That's the strategy. That's what an e-learning consultant should be doing when they're talking about strategy. So management and accountability. An e-learning consultant should manage the project. They should project manage the e-learning project. What does that mean? That means that they are managing the due dates of everything. Due dates are extremely important because it's super easy to just be like, oh, yeah, we're going to launch the course eventually. You don't want to do that because the goal of e-learning is to provide value for your learners as quickly as possible. If you're not providing value for your learners, then you're not building a successful e-learning program. So if you don't have due dates and someone on the team that's going to be accountable for those due dates, why are you even hiring an e-learning consultant? This is probably the most important part of their job, is to keep everyone accountable to those due dates. Even when you, the one who hired out the consultant, may be the one dragging the due date out. They need to be able to confront you and say, hey Johnny, pretty late on this. This is like a couple weeks out. Like, how are we going to launch this program on time if we're going to get things done a couple weeks out? You have to be okay with having those tough conversations. We have a very strong partner of ours, and the reason why they work with us is because the VP of the sales department of this company was like, Johnny and Hector, so when we bring you into client accounts, are you guys okay with having those hard conversations with like C-levels and VPs and telling them when you disagree with how something's being done? We're like, oh yeah, of course. That's what you need a consultant to do. You need a consultant that cares so much about the project as if it was theirs. If they looked at it as their business, that's how they should look at the project. And then implementation. Implementation, like we said, technically isn't part of what a consultant does, but there are consultants out there that do this. E-learning partners, we do. But we're not just a consulting organization. We do all of this, build out the strategy, and we help our clients implement it. Implementation basically means taking the strategy and doing it. Once you have a content strategy for your e-learning program, who's going to create the content? You don't want to have to spend all this time and money and stress looking for someone to build the videos, to build the text, the quizzes, etc. Technically, consultants don't do that. So once you have the strategy, now you have to find someone to provide the technology. It'd be great if your consultant had some ideas and some experience on their team of implementing and helping you onboard onto that technology. And then distribution. The consultant should really care about distribution because this is how you know if your program is successful or not. So the consultant should know how to either distribute your course internally for your organization or externally. Very important. Now, if you want to guarantee the success of your e-learning program, we have a link in the description of this video below for a free masterclass all about how to guarantee the success of your e-learning program. And we really do promise it does guarantee the success when you fully embrace our learner-centric process. Most important part of e-learning. If you learned something new in this video, give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe. We put out new content with the learner-centric viewpoint all the time, and you don't want to miss it. So in order to make sure that you get the most up-to-date content from us, you definitely want to subscribe. And if you have some thoughts about what else an e-learning consultant should do, leave a comment below, share with your friends, your colleagues, and we'll see you in another piece of content. Most people think, and most of the answers you're going to get online about e-learning is, well, e-learning has to do with technology. Well, that is why most e-learning programs tend to fail, is because if you focus on the technology, you miss the other two pillars. So e-learning is made up of 3 pillars.